That's the group that's staging this benefit. And just a few kind of background words. The benefit, when you have a benefit, it's usually for a person. This benefit is for a town, and I think we all know why. Is because this town and Ithaca and Danby and Dryden have banned gas drilling, and they've all done it on the same premise, which is the state says we can't regulate it, and so we're saying we're not regulating it, we're banning it. And it sounds like semantics, but as most of us know, it's not. There's a whole body of legal evidence that seems to be developing very quickly that suggests that you can do what we're suggesting. And Dryden is the test case. So Dryden has been sued by the Anschutz Gas Corporation. We've been sued by the 37th richest man in America. So I guess it's a bit of an honor. And in a sense, Tompkins County, these four towns, the towns around us, we are ground zero here for this battle, which I think we're all realizing is really a global battle, not to put too much of a macro spin on it, but if we lose, I think this is going to be just reverberating around the whole country. If we win, the same thing will happen, and that's why we want to thank you all so much for coming here, giving some money to Ulysses, which in turn is using that money to try to support Dryden in this incipient case. So that's the first reason we're here. The first reason we're here is to raise money, but the other reason is equally important, perhaps more important, and that is that we're fighting an industry that has been pillaging the world for 150 years, 200 years, and they always win because they're very, very smart, they're very, very rich, and they do what they do very well. They have a lot more money than we do. We have a lot more people than they do, and that's what we're here for, and that's what we have to remember. We have ourselves, and we will never lose hope as long as we have ourselves. We have equally more people in Dryden and Danby and Caroline and all over Tompkins County, not to mention the state, and I think it's even developing in places like Pennsylvania, which have already been brutalized. So enough of the background, I think you all know that. Roxanne Marino, our town supervisor, will be here shortly and is going to give you kind of a little more background on the minutia of the amicus brief that we're writing. And we also have Bob Howarth, who is our local world-renowned scientist. This town has a few of them. Bob will be speaking, and I think Sandra Steingraber, another of our world-renowned scientists, will be speaking shortly. So enjoy yourselves, and one most other thing, the music has been provided here by the funky Frack-Free Radicals. That's Harry Aceto on bass, and Mike Wellen on drums, Alex Becker on guitar, Chuck Leo on saxophone. They're fantastic, and they will be back very shortly, and thank you very much.
everybody. I've been fasting all day, so I feel a little wobbly. I'd like to say it's because I'm in solidarity with the anti-fracking activist Patrick McGilligan, who's on an extended hunger strike to draw attention to the refusal of his pro-fracking senator, Tom Libous, to meet with him. But in fact, it's because I have a colonoscopy scheduled in the morning. Which also means I have a fun night of colonoscopy prep in front of me, involving a box of laxatives and a bottle of Miralax. So I'm making a cameo appearance here tonight. Now the word colonoscopy is kind of a party killer, but I mention it for two reasons. One, I love you all, and we need every single one of you in the anti-fracking orchestra. So if you're over 50 and you haven't had your colonoscopy, go sign up for one tomorrow. You're all too important. The experience is not as bad as you've imagined. I've had 10 of them already. And in the world of cancer prevention, it's a truly life-saving procedure. Driving to radiation and chemotherapy appointments is a big time suck. And that is the best thing you can say about cancer. Cancer is also expensive. And that's the second reason I'm bringing all this up. On a macroeconomic level, cancer is the third most costly condition. And on an individual level, cancer is the most costly thing that can happen to you medically. I had cancer young, and as a result, I've never enjoyed financial security, and likely I never will. Medical bills are the reasons that Jeff and I were nearly denied a mortgage on our little house just up the hill here on Bradley Street. So when I found out last summer that I was one of the lucky recipients of a Heinz Award for my research and writing on environmental health, it was an amazing thing. The award comes with a $100,000 cash prize, and that check far exceeded my balance in CFCU accounts. Nevertheless, I didn't really have to think twice about how to invest it. This community is my home. I didn't grow up here, but I chose to raise my children here. And in my view, Ulysses is the best small town in America. I feel truly lucky to live here. Now my son walks down Main Street every single day, and if fracking trucks hauling hazmat up Route 96, his lungs will fill up with diesel exhaust, which is a carcinogen. And if the heavy metal-laden radioactive brine from fracked wells is spread on this road to de-ice it, which is part of the plan, Elijah will track it home on his shoes. My children are 65% water by weight. If chemical contaminants leak into our drinking water wells along the banks of Cayuga Lake, which is downhill from everything else that goes on here in Ulysses, then chemical contaminants will fill up their blood plasma, their cerebral spinal fluid, their tears, the steam of their exhaled breath. My kids' muscles, bones, and nerve fibers are constructed from the crops of Sweetland Farm, just a mile that way. My kids are made out of the meat and eggs of Highland Farm. They are pasted together with the bread of Wide Awake Bakery, which is milled right here in Trumansburg. You poison those things, and you poison my kids. So as far as I can see, investing in the campaign to allow small towns to prevent carcinogen-dependent industries from running over them is an investment in my children's safety and their future. It's what I'm called as a parent to do. Which is why the town of Ulysses and this amicus brief is one of the recipients of the Heinz Award money, along with Gas-Free Seneca, Toxics Targeting, the Finger Lakes Clean Waters Initiative, and the Community Environmental Defense Council. Those are all recipients of the Heinz Award, with a couple more announcements that'll come in a few weeks. I hope it inspires and emboldens your own donations. And I have a message tonight for Philip Anschutz, the owner of the Denver-based Anschutz Exploration Corporation, which is suing our sister community across the lake for its own ban on fracking. Philip Anschutz is the 34th richest person in the United States. He has a net worth of $7 billion. Philip Anschutz is the line of tanks in Tiananmen Square that we now stand before. Hey, Mr. Anschutz, you've out-lawyered and out-bankrolled us, but here's what I bring to the struggle. I have the ability to undergo a colonoscopy without sedation or anesthesia. Tomorrow morning, I'll just do a little deep breathing, and then when it's all over, I'm going to get off the table, strip off the backless blue cotton gown, take a cab home from Cayuga Medical Center, and get back to work fighting the plans that you have for us. And here's something else I bring. I know how to work when I'm tired. I know how to work when I'm scared. I know how to stay up all night. I know how to work while waiting for news from the pathology lab about the results of the last biopsy. I know that I'm the daughter of a man who was shipped off to fight Hitler at age 18 and who taught me the words, "We shall fight them on the beaches and we shall fight them in the streets and we shall never surrender." I know that I'm the daughter of a woman who had metastatic breast cancer by the time she was 46, who taught me the words, "Don't let them bury you until you're dead." I know that I'm the mother of 2 children who sometimes ask me, "Mama, we're rich in love, right?" And I know the answer to that question. And the answer is yes, right? The answer is yes. Fellow Ulyssians, we are rich in love, which is why we are going to prevail. It is also why we all have to help defend this beloved community against those who seek to blow up its bedrock. So I have a poem for you. It seems like a night for poetry. Biology and poetry have a lot in common, you know. They are both about the mystery of being alive. But whereas biology wants to solve the mystery, poetry simply says, "Behold." Here are some biological mysteries. The Marcellus Shale below our feet is an oceanic graveyard. Those bubbles of methane trapped inside represent the bodies of marine mammals, marine animals, sea lilies and squids that died 400 million years ago. But the Marcellus Shale is also alive. It's an ecosystem swarming with colonies of relic organisms, bacteria, and archaea that microgeologists call deep life. These creatures live on the radioactivity and the carbon and the sulfur dioxide, and they send nanowires out into the surrounding rock to conduct electron transfer. Deep life organisms may make up more than half of the total biomass on Earth. They play a role in the carbon cycle, which means they also may play a role in climate stability. That's one reason that fracking fluid is so toxic. It contains biocides. The Marcellus is a kind of subterranean coral reef, and to get the gas to flow out of it, you have to poison it. Now here are some poetic mysteries. The name Marcellus, like the name Ulysses, is a word with classical references. Marcellus was a Roman general who fought and died on the battlefield. William Shakespeare was so impressed with the story of General Marcellus that he borrowed his name for one of the characters in Hamlet. Marcellus is the guy who utters the words, "There is something rotten in the state of Denmark." Here's my Valentine to Marcellus, and it's an interactive piece. So when I say, "Mom always said," what you say back is, "Don't blow up the basement." Can you do that? Mom always said, "Don't blow up the basement." Okay, here we go. Marcellus below us, Marcellus below us, Marcellus, tell us, who named you? Older than fishes, older than spinal cord and bone in the green day of trees, older than atmosphere, than pollen dust, than seeds, bedrock of grief. Subterranean coral reef alive with microbes and nanowires, electrically conductive hypersaline fire. Marcellus, our cellar, Marcellus, unlike us, fissured and fossiled sarcophagus of sea lilies and squid, ego and id, the whole periodic table in you, uranium, radon, barium, lead, Marcellus, home of the dead, toluene, mercury, benzene, brine, arsenic, the river Styx, 500 million years thick, in you, Eurydice. Mom always said, don't blow up the basement. Hades, Moloch, Charon's boat, Hades, Moloch, ransom note. Marcellus deserved the name given him who waged war and gained fame for the sacking of Syracuse for the Battle of Gaul, only to lose to the enemy and fall at home. No exit plan. Some say your success was embellished. General Marcellus, tell us, who called you Sword of Rome? Private, Saudi Arabia, below our feet, a prolific monster, says Wall Street, a sure thing, a shale play, place your bet. Marcellus leads Hamlet away from his father's ghost. Something is rotten in the state of, here, sign this lease, let's make the most of it. Oh, pardon me, thou bleeding piece of earth, that I am meek and gentle with these butchers. Enters now Mark Antony breaking bread with Bobby Kennedy. Jealous? Et tu, Marcellus. Mom always said, don't blow up the basement. Hades, Moloch, Charon's boat. Hades, Moloch, ransom note. Marcellus, who are we? Drill, syringe, Derek vein, junkies argue. How many atoms of carbon dance on the head of a pin? Marcellus, tell us, quick. I hear the trucks coming, they're not far. The plan is to reduce you to rubble. There is no Hubble telescope for you, Marcellus. No 24-hour spill cam for us. Marcellus, are you a box inscribed with the name Pandora, or a scroll on which is written the names of us all? Holy the fissure and the rock, the salt and the diatoms fall. Holy the unfractured, holy the wall between you and us, Marcellus. Holy the passageway, holy the hall. Hell, I know you're down there. Are you an augur? Are you a voodoo doll? Mom always said, Hades, Moloch, Charon's boat. Hades, Moloch, ransom note. Marcellus, please, I don't want you in my blood. I don't want your disease. Let me love you from a long way up. Holy the water, holy the cup. Thanks.
Fabulous as always.
Well, Sandra, as she always does, has just spoken most eloquently about the world beneath our feet. The next speaker, Dr. Robert Howard, is going to talk about the world above, the world that we breathe. We're all breathing right now. Robert Howard is a world-renowned scientist whose work has been critical to the establishment of the case that this technique, hydrofracking, not only pollutes water, it pollutes air. Bob's coming to the stage. Robert Howard.
Thank you, Ken, and thank you, Sandra, for your incredibly inspiring words. It's always a tough act following Sandra. This is the third time it's happened to me in the last year. I try to avoid it. I'm not a poet. I am a biologist. I want to thank Sandra for her incredibly generous donation to the town of Ulysses. It's very important. I'm going to be brief because I think we're here generally to celebrate what this community is about and what we need to do. But I want to say a few things. Together with my colleague Tony Angrafia and Renee Santoro, we took on as a research challenge the issue of, is this really a green fuel? Does it really make sense for shale gas to be a bridge fuel to the future? It clearly is not. We published a paper on that back in April in the peer-reviewed literature to a firestorm of criticism from industry and from the policy wonks that are associated with large NGOs. I'm honored that Tony and I were honorable mentions in Time Magazine People of the Year for that. It's not a great honor in some ways. They honored us for creating controversy, and if you look at the other people who honored there, it includes Newt Gingrich, Osama bin Laden, Gaddafi. So we're among the... Yes, thank you. I want to give you an update. We've continued to do the science. I am absolutely convinced, I'm more convinced now than when we put our paper in April, that this is a terrible fuel in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. And I want to tell you that there's a huge amount of science interest. There's an awful lot of scientists working on it. There's new information coming out all the time. There'll be a paper coming out week after next, done by great scientists at the University of Colorado and by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They have direct measurements of what the greenhouse gas consequences of this fuel have been in Colorado. Their conclusion is that we've been way too conservative. It's far worse than we've said. There's also a new report from the United Nations that came out last summer, and there's a report by Drew Shindell of the NASA Goddard Space Institute that came out 3 weeks ago. They say that we are too conservative in how we thought about the consequences of methane. They say that if society doesn't control methane, and shale gas is methane, we're in a lot of trouble. The likelihood of reaching a catastrophic tipping point in the climate change system and resulting in runaway global warming from methane, according to these new studies, is high in the time period of 15 to 35 years from now. My daughter, who's back over there in the corner, is 15. I'm 60. By the time she's my age, we will almost certainly be going through this time frame if we don't control methane. Shale gas is methane. What our research shows and what other scientists are showing is that as we develop shale gas and it replaces conventional gas, we're going to increase that methane flux by at least 50%. We're going to aggravate this really unacceptable situation and make it way too likely that we're going to have catastrophic runaway warming way too soon in anyone's lifetime. Let me just turn to the politics a little bit. I was extremely distressed by the President's State of the Union message last week. Caught me off guard, I must say. I've talked to the President's science advisor. I've talked to the head of the Environmental Protection Agency. I've done so within the past 6 weeks, and both of them understand our science. They agree with our science. To the extent the President is getting science advice, that's the advice he's getting. This is a political decision. Hopefully it's a short-lived political decision, but it points out the need to get things under control here in New York State. Points out the importance of a local ban of the sort that we have here in Ulysses. I think what this town has done is incredible. It's a result of a huge outpouring of effort by a large part of the community. I'm so proud to be part of this community. You know, at the end of the day, when I come home and industry slams me again on my research, I go, thank God I live in Ulysses, you know? I wasn't born here either. My wife and I, Roxanne Marino, who you'll hear from in a minute, we moved here 26 years ago. It's our home. We moved here because this is the type of place we want to live in, and I want to keep it the way it is. The fact that the President is on the wrong track, I think we just ignore that and move on. We've got to do the best by the state. This town has one of the strongest bans going, and this town is working as aggressively as any town in preventing that, and I'm very, very pleased to be part of this community. Thank you for coming tonight, and do all you can to help financially with that. So, thank you.
As Bob has pointed out, this is the science kind of underlies the political struggle that we have. If this was all about science, we'd win because the science is incontrovertible. However, obviously it's not. It's a political struggle, and the town supervisors in the Tompkins County have been extraordinary, supporting the local grassroots efforts, people like us in the room tonight. One of my personal heroes is Don Barber from Colorado. It's a real pleasure to introduce Don Barber.
Well, good evening, everyone. It's so great to be here in the town of Ulysses. And I want to thank all of you for making this meeting, this time, a priority in your life and showing up here. It talks about your commitment. I have to tell you that I've been in many speeches by Sandra Steingraber, and she grabs my heart every time. She pulls on it. It's unbelievable. And what Sandra talked about are the issues that really raised our awareness of this whole hydrofracking issue and natural gas in our area. She's talking about the poisons. She's talking about our water. She's talking about our earth. She's talking about our children. Bob Howarth is talking about the air and the science and the legacy we're leaving. All those things are very important. But there's one thing that they didn't talk about, which is what's on the sign behind me, and that's the political struggle. And that's what I'm here to talk about. We all have heard about things happening in West Virginia where they do mountaintop removal to get coal, in other countries where they take do a tremendous amount of environmental damage to get gold or other resources. Is playing out right here. And how do we protect ourselves? Well, we form a government by democracy, and the government works for the civil society, and then we're protected, right? Well, not really. At the federal level, they completely thrown us under the bus. Hydrofracking is exempt from Clean Water, Clean Air, and the Safe Drinking Water Act. Who would do that if they're working for the civil society? Well, Dick Cheney, there you go. And we know he wasn't working for the civil society, he was working for big oil. So then we go, well, we also have the state level, they're ready to work for us, right? When the DEC keeps issuing a draft supplemental GIS after draft supplemental, never getting it right. And the governor is a hell-bent to make sure that we can get that revenue in our state coffers. Are they working for the civil society? No. So what's left? The only place left is the local government. And I have to thank Roxanne Marino and the Ulysses Town Board. Yes, you can thank them as well. For standing up and taking a stand, going out on a limb, being the first and being the strongest to say that this is our community, we are a democracy, we will represent our people, and we are going to ban hydrofracking in the town of Ulysses. But you'll have to notice when I look around the room, there are people here from the town of Dryden. There's a few. Come on, town of Dryden. All right. The town of Ithaca supervisors right here. Others from the town of Ithaca. All right. There are people from outside this county that are here. There you go. And there's a small contingency from Caroline as well. And we are here to show how much we appreciate the work that Town of Ulysses has done, to really support their leadership. That's why we're all here. And so just in closing, I want to say that there are two powerful entities in the world, and one is the United States government, and the other is the people that elect them. That is us. We can take control of our future. It's up to us. Support Ulysses, support your town, get the ban, keep hydrofracking out of Tompkins County.
It's such a joy to be in this struggle with people like Don, like Herman, and the other political people we work with. And foremost is Roxanne Marino, our town supervisor here, who we all worked with very, very carefully, very closely, and she did an amazing job. The most amazing thing is that she put up with us.
Overwhelmed and incredibly gratified by the show of support that's here tonight and that we've had all along. And someone said Don Barber was their hero, and he's certainly one of mine too. I started working with Don many years ago when I first moved here on the Environmental Management Council, and also with Herb Engman, another one of my heroes, the now supervisor of the town of Ithaca. And here we all are now. I was asked to say just a few words about the town's legal efforts associated with the recent zoning law amendment that we put in place in August, and the current court challenges to home rule, the home rule provision of the New York State Constitution that these zoning law amendments are based on. But first and foremost, in case I get too nervous and forget what else I'm going to say, I really want to thank the members of the concerned citizens of Ulysses who organized this event, and who have just been really instrumental in keeping the momentum at Ulysses going and prodding the town board. And I really want to thank the owners and the staff of the Rongo for hosting this event. And all the local merchants who donated the raffle prizes here. And I think, you know, it's great that you're all here supporting these businesses and the jobs that this is the kind of jobs and businesses we want in this community. We don't need the kind of jobs that were being promised from gas drilling. So it's just great to have this local gathering and effort. And on behalf of the Ulysses Town Board, I most of all want to thank all the citizens who've contributed their effort and their expertise, their funds, their time to our town to support our work, including all of you here tonight. It's incredibly gratifying to the board, and we appreciate your continued involvement. And as everybody before me has said, we live in an amazing place, and I'm really honored to be elected to serve the residents of this town. So, what are we doing in a nutshell? In August, as you know, after more than a year and a half of research, listening to public input, the Ulysses Town Board passed an amendment to our zoning law that clarifies that heavy industrial land uses such as gas drilling are not permitted in our town. We don't feel that they're appropriate land uses based on our comprehensive plan and the will of our residents, nor the county comprehensive plan. And the towns of Dryden, Danby, and Ithaca in Tompkins County did so as well, as did the town of Middlefield in Otsego County. And so the Dryden and Middlefield laws were pretty quickly challenged in court by plaintiffs claiming that the towns don't have any municipal home rule powers to regulate gas drilling as a land use. The industry argues that these important local decisions should be made by industry and the New York State, DC, not by towns and the people that live in them. We don't agree with this, and so after some consideration, we retained an Albany law firm to work with our attorney to file an amicus, or friend of the court brief in these lawsuits, in support of municipal home rule. Municipal home rule is what the legal basis of the challenge is on. It's not on any environmental aspect of gas drilling, any moral aspect of it. It's on whether municipalities retain the constitutional broad home rule powers that we've had in this state since the late 1890s. And so we felt it was really important to support a decision in the courts in favor of Dryden and Middlefield in any way that we could, because their zoning laws are based on the same premise and the same legal arguments that Ulysses is. So if one of us loses, we all lose. And the people in New York State lose, in our opinion. So the town of Ulysses is going to file we filed amicus briefs in both the Dryden lawsuit and the Middlefield lawsuit. And we intend to take that research that we paid for and used in filing that brief to file another brief when these lawsuits are appealed to the appellate court. The brief will be similar to the one in the lower courts, but it's going to require work to tune it to the specifics of the decision and move through all of the legal procedure that has to happen. Hence, it's going to require funds. And we felt that we couldn't burden our town residents any further, and in stepped the concerned citizens and said, we were here, we said, if you do it and you need help, we'll help you, and that's what they're doing. And I really appreciate that they stayed through the whole thing and the support of all of the people in our town and here. So talking with an attorney in the Otsego area who has a group of citizens and towns that are, because of the Middlefield suit, that are interested in this as well, and the attorney that we're working with in Albany, we thought, well, if we could get many towns to sign on to this brief instead of just one town or two towns, it would make a powerful statement to the appellate courts, we hope, to the DEC, and to the New York State Legislature, which is now considering home rule bans, or has been, and probably will keep doing so for a long time, about the importance of protecting home rule and the right of the people who live in a municipality to decide for themselves whether gas drilling or any other land use, for that matter, is appropriate. And we believe this coalition building effort is really important, and it's very timely to keep going with, so we hugely appreciate the financial donations that we're receiving to help us do this. We didn't ask any towns for money because for a variety of reasons, the logistics of it are very complicated, and also we'd like as many sign-ons as we possibly can, and it's much easier for town boards in these days of tax caps and difficult financial times to sign on. We're just asking for a resolution in support, and so far we started this in December, and we now have almost 30 towns from 13 different counties in New York State. And some of these counties are not even in the Marcellus Shale. So small municipalities are trying to take a stand as best they can in the face of overwhelming resources and opposition to home rule powers being held up in New York State. And this coalition brief, it really seems to be engaging local governments. I get phone calls from supervisors and emails and from other activists, and it's engaging both local governments and citizenry across the state in a way that I just think is really powerful. So the whole home rule concept is, as Don said, it's at the grassroots, and it's really what we have to work up from. So the support of the citizens like you all here make it possible, and I just want to thank you again for coming and listening and lending your support and energy to this important issue that will certainly affect the towns in our county and area, and will likely affect millions of New Yorkers. A group of residents in the Otsego County area that have been raising funds and sending them to us here, and volunteers who are helping us work on this, in addition to an attorney there who's working really hard with us. So all the way out to other parts of New York, and especially to the residents in Otsego, I want to send a shout out thank you. I just want to close with one really quick last thought, and that's kind of a call to action. We can all say that we don't want gas drilling, we don't want this here, but we all use a lot of energy, and we need to commit ourselves to moving forward and doing everything that we can as individuals and as communities to move towards more sustainable energy use policies and sources of energy. In our town here in Ulysses, we're trying to take small steps. We buy all our electricity from 100% renewable resources. In December, we signed the paperwork to take advantage of a program that's offered to municipalities to put solar panels on our town hall and our town barn. Some towns, like Caroline, have led the way, and they've already done that. The town of Ithaca had a sustainability planner, and they have a whole plan. The town of Danby just formed a citizens group to work with the town to figure out ways that they could do things, bring it to the town and to the citizens. Here we're working on options for bringing Ithaca car share vehicle to Trumansburg that will support with municipal usage. Our highway department is actively working to help make the Black Diamond Trail a reality, alternative mode of transportation. These are all small efforts, but they're a start, and small efforts can add up to big things, as we've seen with the movement in New York to halt the permitting of high-volume hydraulic fracturing and industrialization that it brings until the risks and the full costs are better understood. So, thank you all again.
Thank you, Roxanne. Roxanne always has a way of anticipating the next thing I'm going to say. And that is that we know that there's another side to this equation. It's not just get rid of hydrofracking, get rid of fossil fuel, then what? Dominic Frangillo from Caroline is on the town board and is really on basically what you call a global town board. He's been going all over the world learning about conservation and the next steps. And Dominic's going to say a few words. I can't remember where he went. Was it Brazil? I can't remember, Dominic, but he'll tell you all about it. Thank you.
Great. Who's angry? Who is feeling sad about the state of things in our great state of New York right now? Who is feeling pain about what's happening here in our world? Even with that, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I've never been more hopeful about our ability to win this fight in New York State because of all of you. I was born and raised in the town of Caroline, and I went to Caroline Elementary School where they taught us the importance of clean water in our ecosystems. Our town is an agricultural town. Our history is we had mills on 6 Mile Creek powered by the waters of 6 Mile Creek. And things have changed since then. Farmers have had a more difficult time making ends meet on their land. It's been more difficult for large landowners to pay the increasing taxes because of state mandates. At the same time, our young people are moving out of our town. So it was time for a new vision when in 2004 a group of town board members led by Don Barber had Caroline become the 8th municipality in the state to buy a portion of its power from wind power, and the next year we became the 2nd town in all of New York State to buy 100% of our town government power from wind power. So thank you, Don, for leading the way. And we haven't stopped there. We've led with door-to-door education, delivering 1 energy-saving light bulb to every single house in our town in a single day. Lighten Up Caroline, which has inspired Lighten Up Tompkins and Lighten Up Ithaca, collectively saving Tompkins County about $500,000 in energy savings just because of those light bulbs. And we haven't stopped there. We put solar panels on our town hall, we put geothermal in our new town office building, and we've worked to help homeowners upgrade their homes for energy efficiency. If every home in the southern tier upgraded their home for energy efficiency, we would bring $150 million of energy savings, no longer going out of the county, out of the region, out of the state, out of the country, but right here in our pockets so that we can revitalize our economy, create new organic agriculture industries, and to help strengthen our local economy here. So it's because of those efforts that when I learned about climate change, how even if we did all those things here in our area, climate change would still threaten us. That's the reason why I went to the UN climate negotiations in Bali. And there I found that we were not alone, that all around the world, large energy corporations were polluting the water, polluting the economy, polluting the democracy of nations and communities around the world, and that we were not alone. The first time I encountered fracking here, was aware of fracking, was coming back from a town council meeting. And I came down my road and I saw something that still shocks me to this day. It was a line of about 6 giant white unmarked trucks, shiny trucks. I felt like if they were camouflaged, they'd easily be large military vehicles. But they were white and unmarked, and my immediate thought was, this looks like a Halliburton corporate takeover. What are they doing a half a mile from my house? And I saw that one of the trucks had a large disc on the bottom of it. 2 of them did, and I surmised that, oh, it's a thumper truck. They're doing seismic testing. Why are they doing seismic testing in the town of Caroline? What could they possibly be interested in? Well, the answer came within a year as people started getting leases saying sign here, and pretty soon people found that all of the neighbors around them had signed for gas drilling leases, and they were told, well, you might as well sign because there's nothing you will do about it, you're going to be compulsorily integrated. So they signed as well. And pretty soon we heard of this new technique called hydraulic fracturing, What's that? Well, it's involving toxic chemicals that they won't even tell you what they are, injected at high pressure underneath the ground when they drill vertically. What could possibly go wrong? Then we heard of flammable water, and we heard of all the contamination, the health problems, the cancer, and a group in our town, despite the despair that nothing could be done, a group in our town of 5 citizens said, you know what, not in our town. The line is drawn here, and they started going door to door. That group of 5 turned into 50, and they organized the largest petition in the history of the town of Caroline. Over half of all registered voters delivering a petition to town board to ban fracking in Caroline. And that was echoed with 2-to-1 incumbents being voted out, the largest progressive majority victory in town of Caroline's elections this November. And I took that story to the White House, and I took that story to Durban as well. And I want to be clear, following up on Bob's research, that we are fighting for much more than ourselves here. Methane is a dangerous, potent climate killer. It is 105 times more powerful than CO2 on a 20-year time scale. This is going to change our atmosphere. And a new study just by the EPA, and Bob interpreted this study, found shockingly that 44% of the entire US greenhouse gas emissions inventory is methane on a 20-year time scale. Almost half. And guess what? The largest source of methane is? It's gas. And that's conventional gas. As we see, hydrofracking is going to release much more methane into the atmosphere. So I took that story to the Durban climate negotiations, where I organized a press conference. It was the only press conference on the role of fracking in climate change. We had 20 media representatives there. We've got an article in the Irish Times, an article in the Spanish Público, and several other papers. We were the only voice there at the UN climate negotiations saying that fracking gas is not a bridge to the future, it's a bridge to nowhere, it's a bridge to the end of a cliff. So before I left, Bob Howard said, probably the #1 thing we can do to stop our growth of climate emissions, to control climate pollution here in the US and here in New York, is to ban fracking. We didn't ask for this, but we are ground zero for the climate fight here and around the world. Fracking is the next tar sands. It's the next mountaintop removal. And we took that to Albany as well on the 10th, and then recently this past week, that New York cannot afford fracking. It's just not worth the cost to our economy, to our water, to our health, and to our climate. We need to build a movement that's loud enough for Albany to hear, and we will look back at this time, in this room, and the people standing next to you, and we will remember this as the time that we started the movement to take back our state and take back our nation. Thank you so much. I look forward to working with you in the days to come.
Thank you, Dominic. We have just one more brief announcement, and then we hope the party continues another few hours. The aardvarks are going to play eventually. This is a raffle, among other things, because we're raising money for Ulysses. Jan Quarles is another member of Concerned Citizens of Ulysses, who organized the raffle part of this. She organizes a lot more, but you wouldn't be here today if it weren't for Jan Quarles. And Michael Domino, back at Democracy.
Hey y'all, it's so great to see such a great turnout tonight. I want to say, and I live in Ovid, so Ovid is represented. We're starting there. So we helped out with the Ulysses band, and it was such a pleasure to meet this community. So great to see all of you. We want to make it fun for you to give money. So I want to just give you another half an hour, and then we're going to announce all the prize winners who are going to walk away with a lot of wine. The wineries were really, really generous. The huge majority of our 110 wineries are strongly opposed to fracking. They wrote letters to the governor saying so. They said it would devastate our whole sustainable economy up here. So the wineries are on our side. The Red Feet Wine Market in Ithaca donated 12 of their favorite bottles of Finger Lakes wine. That will be the first prize when we draw randomly. The first raffle ticket will win a whole case of wine, valued at over $220. We have 11 other prizes here, including a gift certificate to Hazelnut Kitchen. So we have all this wine that we're going to bring over here and announce the winners one by one in a half an hour. So if you want to increase your chances of winning, go over there and see Judy or Michael, anybody in our little donation center right there, and buy another raffle ticket. And if they make the wine packages make great gifts, and Michael's waving. So again, we're all in this together, no matter what town you're from. All the towns are pitching together. This is what community looks like. This is what democracy looks like.